finally summertime in Pennsylvania. The weather's warm, pools are open, and our waterways from the Susquehanna River to Lake Marburg are super busy. And that's last part is what brings us to today's guest on our program, and it's Dr. Tim Schaefer. He is the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. Tim, welcome to our program. Thrilled to have you today.
Thrilled to be here and thrilled to hear that people are out on the water in York County.
Oh, they certainly are, and everyone looks to have a smile on their face.
Yeah.
And it's really pretty special because Pennsylvania is nationally recognized for our streams, our rivers, our waterways, and you have a huge operation. So talk to us a little bit about what the Fish and Boat Commission does.
Yeah, happy to. So the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission is an independent administrative agency. We have about 420 staff statewide. We're a small agency that gets a ton done. Our mission is to protect, conserve, and enhance aquatic resources and provide fishing and boating opportunities. And we do that through a network of state fish hatcheries that are across the Commonwealth that raise trout and other species for the anglers to enjoy. We have waterways conservation officers. Rachel Turner-Diaz, I know, will be joining you here soon.
She will be. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but yes.
Good,
so
give
them a little taste of what's
teaser,
to come.
Yeah.
Yes,
but so our waterways conservation officers are the ones that are out there keeping people safe on the water and also making sure that water quality is being protected. We have biologists, we have engineers, everybody whose job it is to mutually try to advance our goals of, again, protecting, conserving, and enhancing aquatic resources and providing the fishing and boating opportunities that everybody loves here in Pennsylvania.
We sure do. But let's talk about you for just a minute. How did you end up in the role that you are currently serving in?
Man, so I grew up hunting and fishing, but never really knew that there was a career in conservation until I got to graduate school and then finished that up and had a couple jobs in the nonprofit field, but then wound up at the Fish and Boat Commission in 2008 as our policy and planning director. Did that for about 9 years, had a brief stint at DEP. And then the executive director position opened up a little less than 8 years ago, threw my hat in the ring, and here we are. So a combination of nonprofit conservation group experience, learning how state government works, learning how this building works, do a lot of work with the legislature, and I say it a lot, and I mean it's a partnership. What we do, we can't do without the support and cooperation with the General Assembly. So combining all that experience together, thought I'd throw my hat in the ring, and here we are 8 years later and having a great time getting a lot done.
That's fabulous. Summer, pretty hectic?
Hectic. You know, people always say, is this a busy, the busiest time I think maybe for us as an agency is, think February. Like February, how could February?
Right.
Think of those state fish hatcheries that are busting at the seams right before you're about to stock trout. So really it's all year long. I'd say the fish hatcheries, it's a little earlier in the year. They've completed a lot of their work in terms of getting the fish out, but they're getting ready for next year. But the really busy ones are waterways conservation officers. Rachel and her counterparts are, we're out there every day on the waters of the Commonwealth, making sure people are safe and making sure they get home safely to their families after a good day on the water.
It is so important, ensuring the safety of every Pennsylvanian who ventures out, whether it's to fish or to boat. Talk a little bit about how you do that.
Yeah, so again, boating safety. One is we provide reminders, and our officers, we'll really stick with those. I mean, they are trained to look for signs of impairment for issues on the water. It's important to note that the rules for boating under the influence are the same as driving under the influence. So just like a police officer would know what to look for someone maybe driving impaired, we know what to look for boating impaired. Their first reaction is to keep people safe, and if they can give a warning, they will give a warning. One of the big things that we focus on is life jacket wear and making sure that the boats are safely equipped. If you have kids on your boat 20 feet or less, any canoe, kayak, or paddleboard, the kids have to be wearing their life jacket all year long. For the rest of the occupants on the boat, make sure that you have a life jacket for everybody, make sure it fits, and make sure it's operable. If the zipper's broken, if the buckles are broken, if it's not the right size, that really doesn't qualify as a legal life jacket. So big thing I want to lead with and really drive home is that public safety aspect.
Absolutely. Both of our boys, we live right in the center of southern York County. Had a friend whose family had a house down on the river, Susquehanna River. They had to get their license to be able to drive a boat out on that river. And both of my boys were really good swimmers. The one was a college swimmer and an open water swimmer. It doesn't matter. When you're out on that river, I have a tremendous respect for moving water. It's a very powerful force, and no matter how good of a swimmer you are, you still need to be conscious of taking appropriate safety precautions.
Absolutely, and if you're going to operate a boat 25 horsepower or more, if you're born after 1982, you have to have taken a boating safety course. If you're going to operate a jet ski, a personal watercraft, you have to take a course for one of those to be able to operate those. It's almost like you're driving a motorcycle on the water. So want to make sure that you've got that training. Another thing to be mindful of is, unpowered boating is wildly popular. Kayaks, I mean, you can't go anywhere these days without seeing kayaks on the roof of a car or on the creeks and the lakes like Lake Marburg there in Codorus. With the ever-changing weather patterns that we get, it might be a really sunny day, but then a thunderstorm rolls in. Keep an eye on the weather. Factor that into your plans. If you get to the Codorus Creek or somewhere else, or the river, and it looks, that looks like it's unsafe. It probably is. So if it's chocolate milk-looking water, lots of debris in it, just hold off. Let the water level come down after a couple days, but don't take any chances. But be really mindful of the weather and how quickly it can change.
No, it's great advice. Talk a little bit about the Fish and Boat and the funding that they provide to organizations. You have been really, really helpful, as well as generous with funding to help rehabilitate some incredibly important places in southern York County, including Hopewell Fish and Game, by making major renovations and enhancements to their raceway. You talked earlier, stocking is a really important function of the Fish and Boat Commission. You have partners throughout Pennsylvania, including southern York County. I have to commend you and your team for working with me and Representative Mike Jones to get this project completed. Talk a little bit about the project. Talk about sort of that broader mission that you have in stocking, whether it's trout or muskie or a whole variety of species out in our waterways.
I should have worn my Hopewell Fish and Game hat. I actually have one hanging at home, and I'm thinking, I should have worn my Hopewell Fish and Game hat. So in addition to our state fish hatcheries, we have a network of about 160 volunteer sportsmen's clubs like Hopewell that raise trout for us. And so we have 3 staff that all they do is provide technical assistance to those clubs. We provide the fingerling. When I say fingerling trout, it's a trout about the size of a finger. We provide it to the clubs. They then raise them up to stock in local waterways. And you wouldn't have trout fishing in southern York County, but for the hatchery system of the fish that we stock, as well as what the cooperative nurseries, and that's what Hopewell is. We've got phenomenal natural, native fisheries here in Pennsylvania. We don't need to stock Lake Marburg with bass because they reproduce there naturally. We do stock muskie, but places... Which,
by the way, are some of the ugliest fish I think I've ever seen. They have teeth.
They teeth, I guess, but but if you catch one, if one of your constituents catches one, they're going to love it.
This is true.
But so Pennsylvania is great because we have a balance of both wild fisheries that reproduce naturally, but trout are a cold water species. So the water just warms up and the habitat's not there in southern York County but for folks like Hopewell Fish and Game. So they, like a lot of clubs, their infrastructure was getting old. So we worked with them with a plan, helped them through, we had some funding that's dedicated for York and Lancaster County, worked with your office to get some additional funding to leverage that. I remind our staff all the time, it's not our money. We don't get general fund tax money. In this building, when you're going to be going through the state budget in June, that's not us. We rely on fishing licenses, boat registrations, motor boat fuel tax revenue. There's a federal excise tax built into the cost of fishing and boating equipment. That's what funds us. And we do everything we can to make sure every nickel is spent wisely. And so I could look at an angler in the eye in your district and say, hey, I spent your money wisely. So what we've been doing lately is reinvesting those, the trout permit revenues back into our cooperative nursery grants. So clubs like Hopewell, they need some things improved. we'll help them with those investments. Our boating facility grant, worked with Hanover Borough, just last year gave them a grant for Long Arm Reservoir to improve the boating access there. Again, it's the fishermen and boaters' dollars. We should spend it the way they need it.
Going back into making fishing and boating better for Pennsylvanians.
Yep.
That's great. So last month, I keep an eye on what you put out, both on social media and directly to us as legislators. Your team highlighted the number of miles of waterways that our conservation officers patrol. 86,000 miles in Pennsylvania, and I think that's absolutely incredible.
Second only to Alaska.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, we are a water-rich state, and we have something for everybody, from Lake Erie to the tidal, estuary waters of the Delaware River. We literally have everything.
It's really neat. I spent last Saturday with over 200 young outdoor enthusiasts ranging from the ages of 8 to 15 at the Isaac Walton Lake, and it was really inspiring. The kids had the opportunity to try a whole range of different things. There were anglers there teaching them how to fish. There were people instructing them on how to kayak, and a whole host of other outdoor skills. But one of the challenges in today's world is tablets and screen time and an ever-increasing digital world. And the question remains, how do we grow the number of people interested in the outdoors, in getting out there and boating and fishing as opposed to just looking at a screen? Because whether they fish in the Cadorus or the Susquehanna, or they take a canoe or a kayak and they, paddle around Lake Redmond or Lake Marburg, we need to inspire our youth that these are real experiences and that they're outside and they're really, really critical. So how do we engage our young people better and get them interested and involved in what I think are really just Pennsylvania traditions? So
one of the things that gets more and more popular every year is a program we have called Trout in the Classroom, where we provide trout eggs to primarily science teachers, and they raise them up as part of their curriculum. We're in over half the school districts of Pennsylvania. I know we've got a lot in York County. I can get you the list. Anybody who's listening would think, man, Trout in the Classroom, that sounds cool. My kid's teacher would love this. Well, go to our website, fishandboat.com. We provide the eggs. Then they'll work with maybe a club like Isaac Walton League to help them get the aquarium. Right. And then we provide lesson plans. The teachers can get the credit that they credit that they need through the lesson plans. So Trout in the Classroom is a great experience. We give them the eggs in the winter. They raise them up throughout the spring, and then they stock them. So that's very popular. Another thing, while we're on the subject of schools, our basic boating course, my kids, I live in New Cumberland, just across the Cumberland County line from York County. They got their basic boating course in gym class in middle school. So teachers, we can provide that curriculum, and you're a phys ed teacher, you're looking for a really practical experience, teach a basic boating course as part of the phys ed class. Kids that get an experience and come out with their boater safety card.
That's fabulous. We're going to have to get those links and share them with people. That would be wonderful. Switching gears a little bit, you testified earlier this year about the number of license sales. I know you talked about you have certain revenue streams. None of them come out of our general budget. And you said that you think it's best to compare license sales from where we are now to pre-COVID in 2019 if we're going to grow the number of anglers and boaters. Explain why.
Sure.
What does that tell us?
Yeah, what that tells us, it was, so when COVID hit, organized sports were shut down. Everywhere was shut down. So all there really was to do was to get out, and which was great, was to fish, hunt, boat, and so you saw the numbers spike. And so those numbers have pretty much come back down to pre-COVID numbers. So to try to say, well, man, we're gonna be where we were, at the peak of 2020 or peak of 2021, it's just an unrealistic comparison. So going back to 2019, which is we're right about there, and we're really happy with that. So it's because of the inflated numbers that there were. A challenge that we have also in Pennsylvania is our the aging demographic that we've got in the Commonwealth, and the term has been called the leaky bucket, where you have a bucket that you're trying to fill up with water. So maybe you got some holes in it, and you can fill it up. It doesn't get fully filled. Well, people are aging into the senior lifetime license category quicker than they're coming in on the early run. So all the more reason, as you said, to try to engage young people, and the fact that we're just about stable with where we were at the pre-COVID numbers. We're really happy with that. We think that that's a good thing. That means that we're holding steady with participation. And when we talk about license sales, we'll refer to number of licensed anglers that we have. So I have a 5-year fishing license. So I'm not going to buy a fishing license this year. So if you say, well, how many licenses did you sell? Well, I didn't buy one, but I'm included in that licensed angler category. And as long as that can stay pretty stable, we actually saw a bump a little bit in our trout permit sales this year, which I think is probably a testament to the good work that our friends at Hopewell and our hatchery staff's doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's because of during COVID, you just had that spike in participation that really was an anomaly, a good anomaly, which we wish we could have had it. But in those organized sports, that's a challenge. It really, really is a challenge. I have twin boys who are 22, just graduated from college, and they both wrestled. One played baseball, one played tennis, and so it takes some effort on the part of the families, but I will tell you that the things that they talk about, they'll talk about their experiences on the water and that kayak trip on the river more than they'll talk about any baseball game.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt. When I was over at the Isaac Walton Lake for this youth sportsman event, there were a lot of other organizations there as well, providing great outdoor education to the kids. And I had a grandfather who talked about a series that you have put together, and I have to give your team credit because he really raved about it. It's called The Adventures of Rock and Log. And so what he said was, it was a program that is meant to engage and educate kids about fishing, and I guess to hope and create future anglers. He was thrilled because he had brought his granddaughter to this event because he wanted her to learn this, and I thought it would be some great bonding time.
Oh my gosh! Well,
between the generations.
I'm so happy that you said that, and our communications team is going to love it. We spend a lot of time here talking about boating, talking about the hatchery system, but our educators do a phenomenal job. We do family fishing. Certainly, we do the the rock and log and the animated content that we've been working on. Our social media team is doing a terrific job of explaining what we do to the viewers, whether it's at a headwater trout stream out in Clinton County or down there on the river in York County. But the fishing and boating programs that we do, we'll tailor it for specific audiences. And you may be a single mom who's, man, I'd love to fish, but I feel sort of intimidated by it. We will demystify that for you. We do family fishing programs. A really popular thing we do is our women's intro to fly fishing. So if there is a program that you think some constituents might be interested in, chances are we've got it for them. But family fishing programs, women's programs, kids, you name it, we got it.
I love it. I love to hear all the great things you're doing to preserve and grow this uniquely Pennsylvania tradition and grow it for the next generation and make it more accessible for everybody. And when you talk about making the commission more approachable, more accessible, I am really excited that we are getting to partner together this month to have a conservation officer at our mobile district office hours. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
So this Thursday, June 4th, we have a conservation officer. You kind of teased it a little bit. And she'll be joining my team at the York Area United Fire and Rescue, which we all affectionately refer to as YAFR. They are at 50 Commons Drive in Springettsbury Township. They will be there from 11 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. And then again on Thursday, June 18th, we are going to host a conservation officer at our mobile district office hours in Penn Township at the Township Building located at 20 Wayne Avenue in Hanover. Actually, Penn Township, Hanover address. Everybody who lives out there knows.
I get it.
So we'll be there together from 9 until 4:30, and I really think it's going to be great to bring the valuable resources that your conservation officers can provide to help people who have any questions, right? How do I get a license for riding a jet ski or driving a boat, or do I need to get something special for my kayak? So all of those questions they can answer, and probably much more.
Absolutely, and Rachel Turner-Diaz, she'll be there. She's one of our great officers here in South Central Pennsylvania. We have more and more female officers, and that's terrific. So if you're, not only can she answer questions for you about the agency and what we do, she could talk about careers. And you may be, a York County resident thinks, man, I like to fish, I like to boat, I like to be on the water. Can I make a career of this? Rachel can tell you all about it.
Oh, I love that. Kids are out of school.
Oh, it's great, bring them. Although I will tell you, one of the funny things, when you say about kids being in school, I love showing up at a trout stocking during the school year. There's a kid there with his parent, and I'll look down and I say, are you skipping school today to stock trout? And they sort of look up at their dad and like, this is the best educational field trip you'll ever have. But Rachel and her counterparts, they're the ones going back to those stockings. They're at every single one of those, making sure that they're done safely. And I meant to say this earlier, thank you to the landowners, the private landowners, who allow us to stock on their property. We stock more fish on private property than we do on public waters. And that's only through the benevolence and generosity of landowners. So for the public landowners out there who let people fish on their property, thank you.
Well, and that is such a great point, because not only do they let you stock, they let a lot of people fish as well, and it's really special, the relationships people have in the community. And I will tell you that I've gone on many stockings. There are many stockings that I don't get to stock much because I would never want to take that pleasure away from a kid.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And there are a lot of kids who are in a different educational environment on stocking day than a traditional brick and mortar school. So yes.
Love it. And if anybody, in the closest hatchery, maybe to close that part out, our Huntsdale State Fish Hatchery over in Cumberland County is open every day. Welcome. Now that the kids are out of school, you're looking for a fun field trip, come on over to Huntsdale. You can see where the next generation of fish will be stocking York County are coming from. I
love it. So for everybody who's listening, if you have a question that you've been meaning to ask the commission, you don't need to use AI. Put down your phone or your tablet and go talk to Rachel Turner-Diaz, our conservation officer, who will be available at those 2 mobile district office hours coming up the end of this week and in the next couple of weeks.
And thank you for having her, and thanks for all the support that you've continued to give. I can remember one of the first places we met was stocking muskies along right there in Wrightsville. It's special, so thank you for being as active as you are.
I always love those opportunities, and I really enjoy ending on a very optimistic note. I would say that the state of our waterways for both our boaters and anglers is in a very good place. And thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. So Tim, thank you for joining us. If our listeners want to learn more about the Fish and Boat Commission, where should they go?
Fishandboat.com. It's the easiest website you'll ever remember, fishandboat.com.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. So today's guest was Tim Schaefer. He is the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to visit my website at senatorkristen.com. This is Kristen Phillips-Hill signing off, and I'll look forward to talking to you again soon.